Welcome to the RFP Success Show with host Lisa Rehurik, the #1 sought-after authority on RFP success. Each week, we bring you information, strategies, or resources to help you win more business through RFPs and have a little fun doing it. Let's get this week's episode started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the RFP Success Show. I am your host, Lisa Rehurik, founder and CEO of the RFP Success Company and industry authority on RFP success. And I am happy to welcome today Jay McConville with Privia. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Glad to be on.
Well, Jay is, I'm excited to talk to him because he is president and CEO of a company called Privia. And Privia helps organizations build cohesive teams, work together, deliver on time and on budget through effective collaboration. And we're going to talk a lot about what that collaboration means. We're going to talk about what his tool does. And also, he's been in the industry for a while, so he's going to talk to us about, what he sees from his perspective too, that's going to help you all in the listeners. So I will leave it at that and have Jay tell you a little bit more. So Jay, again, welcome. And why don't you kick it off by telling us a little bit about yourself and about Privia?
Sure. So I had come to Privia because I've been in this business development and proposal environment for quite a number of years. I'd say decades then.
Nice.
After leaving the military service, I had specialty in new business development in what is mostly the federal and defense world of manufacturing. And those proposals are large and quite aggressive endeavors, as you can imagine, for some of these large systems. And I worked many of them over the years, both as a business developer and as a member of the proposal staff, whether a proposal manager or a contributor or something along that continuum. So I had been a CEO of another company that was acquired by a large defense prime, and one of Privia's biggest clients was someone I had worked with before, and they said, now that you're on your own, you got to come see this company, Privia. And I had actually not heard of Privia, and that was one of my initial responses was like, how come I didn't know about this, all this capability, when I was struggling through all these different proposals that I'd been working on for so many years, billions of dollars worth, right?
Wow.
So took a look at the technology, and I joined up with them as CEO in 2016, and the company is a great provider of really collaborative-based tools for proposal teams. And I also want to say that since I come from both sections, it also impacts the business development and capture management environment and kind of stitches them together and provides a set of tools in an integrated package that allows teams to work together online and get to the finish line, which is a great proposal.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And we know how hard that finish line sometimes is to get over because there's so much hardness there. I'm excited about the fact that you were in the proposal world for so long because there's so much relatability there that can take place with, not just maybe being in the software, the technology side of things your entire career. So I think this is going to be a great conversation. Yay.
Right. Very good. Yeah, don't ask me any software questions. I'm not a software guy.
I won't, I promise. So I always love to ask this question, and it's always a loaded question, but what are some of the key challenges that you see that proposal teams generally struggle with?
Well, we really directed three things that we want to do, right? We want to save time.
Yep.
Because every proposal team is under a press for time. The pressure of the stress of the deadline, the review cycle, whatever your proposal process is calling for, and then, of course, the delivery of the final proposal in the best way forward is the #1 stressor, in my opinion. And it's always on you, and we're always late. And, whoever's issuing the RFP, it always comes out later than we thought, and the due date rarely slips, so lots of time pressure. Then we want to save money because resources are scarce in the proposal world. We want to spend our resources wisely, so we don't want to waste it on, getting on an airplane, flying off to a review. Believe me, in 10 years, 15 years ago, we used to fly, from one coast to the other, do a red team. You're there for half a day, you barely can stay awake because you had the red eye, and then you fly back. That is not a good way to use your resources. So we want to save time. We want to save money, and when we mean save money is put your resources where they're most valuable. Then we want to produce an awesome product, and we believe in Privia, we're proposal managers. We call ourselves the proposal company. We're proposal managers first and foremost. That's what we come from. We provide a software capability to help that. But, we know that the end result is to produce an awesome work product, whether document images or whatever you're providing to your client. So that we believe requires collaboration amongst the team, the ability to reach out, get the right people at the right time, bring them in, experts, whether they're in your organization or external, and to do that all without a lot of hassle, which you just really can't afford when you're under all those other pressures. So those are the big three. I think, how do you increase quality? How do you apply your resources correctly and not waste them? And then how do you meet your strict time deadlines?
Yeah, right. If we could answer those three questions, well, I think Privia tries to do that, right?
We do.
Those are definitely the big three. So, I hear a lot of times with my clients where they'll say, you know what, a software just bogs things down. One of those solutions just pulls in too much extra time. It takes more time for us to figure out the system. What is your rebuttal to that comment?
Well, I would say two, right? So first, ask our clients because they would tell you that they love it, and they wouldn't. There's one great quote on one of our review sites that says, "I would not do a proposal without Privia."
Wow.
And, don't do a proposal without it. And then the second way I say, it's really the right tool for the right task, right? I think there are promising tools out there that want to automate things, and I think that's a great objective. And we do as much of that as we can too. We have workflow built into the product. We have notifications, and we use the process augmentation to kind of move the team along. But the key is to put automation where it does you some good and not just where you think you can do it. And if applied correctly, it does not put a burden on the team. It actually facilitates the work. And we think Privia does that, obviously. The way we do it is a little bit of a different market approach, I think. Again, because we've always been in proposals, that's what we do. We focus on the team and the team's collaborative effort to produce work product. And then we use the work product, like the document, or the image, is what's being done. But the focus is on the team and their collaboration and not as much on the document. So we don't try to automate the production of a document from a database. We have capabilities to help with that, but what we really try to do is facilitate the team moving the proposal along the chain. Some automation is absolutely needed and helpful, and we're constantly trying to expand that, but focus on the team first and foremost. That's what I would say. Then the tools are valuable and not in the way. They're actually, you can't do your job without them.
That's very interesting. So when we're talking about kind of team collaboration and all of that, how does that work? Because at the end of the day, most of my clients is everybody's kind of working in a tunnel, right? This guy over here has this piece and he's writing this piece, and this person here has this piece and they're writing that piece. And then at the end, one person has to somehow pull it all together to make it sound like one person wrote it. Is that when you talk about collaboration, is that kind of what you're helping to eliminate, that everybody working in a tunnel?
That's exactly what we're trying to eliminate. And it's not just the proposal team, it's also the people who maybe sales or business development capture, and the executive team who might want to weigh in. Mm-hmm. So how do we get them all to participate along a process that is organized? Because, I was proposal manager. I like organization. So how do I organize? I meet my steps, either whether I'm CMMI or other process-oriented design steps. I want to meet them, but I want to be able to get people in there at the right time and allow them to collaborate. So I started with business development. One of the big things is how do we reach the data that's in the pipeline and then bring that into the proposal process in an automated way. We mentioned automation before. Yep. I don't want to have to get a capture manager or a salesperson or a business developer to then hand type all this background data into my pipeline, and then I start the proposal from there. We automate that. So allow me to link a bridge between capture and business development and the beginning of my proposal process. Then I have a workflow tool we call Process Designer. Our product ships with some already done processes in there, but it's very customizable. So then you select your process, and then it puts everybody on the chain. It gives alerts and notifications. Say, I'm an executive member of the red team. I get a notification, which I can put on my Outlook calendar that says on this day, click this link and you're going to go to the red team. I'll just give you an example. Right now, I am actually working on a proposal right now, and we're doing our process is that we do these iterative reviews because we're a software company, so we like that kind of thing. Yeah. So we do these iterative reviews. I just finished mine, and I will go back in a few hours and see how that's been done. It's been all done in our commenting capability, and I know when I have to participate. Other people know when they have to participate. We can do it at the same time or asynchronously, and it still all gets done.
So everybody can be working in the same document at the same time versus, I'm thinking
Yes.
about, I've got one large client, one of the things, they've got like maybe 15 people working on it, and they all send it all in different places, and the big time of the project manager is pulling all of those together from different documents. So you're saying Privia really, they're all working in the same document at the same time.
Yeah, I continually am surprised at how many companies are still emailing documents around or images, and they've got, track changes or something, and then the poor proposal manager, which I've been, has to try to pull all this together. There are even, I'm sure they're out there, we're still having reviews where there's written comments on the document. We're trying to say, we don't need to do that anymore.
Wow.
Our concept is we have a virtual workspace that's set up with each proposal. So as you launch your proposal process, a workspace is created, and that's a secure place where all your work product will be. And our concept is there's one copy of everything. People come to the virtual workspace, they work on it there, and then they depart. So the work is there for everyone, and it can be there at the same time or later, or, I can work on it at 2 a.m. There might not be anybody in the room with me, but I can still work on it. They're going to see what I did. And we also use a concept called curating commenting, which is different than some of the tools that are out there, maybe like some of them are freeware, where everybody's doing everything at the same time and overriding each other and everything. We take the collaborative concept and we add controls to it. So there's document ownership and there's editor rights and other things like that. So that's how we get away from, shipping emails around. That's not the way to do it anymore.
Oh my gosh, it's so brutal too. And I know that, because I know, again, some of my clients, especially the big ones that are big enough, they're not so big that they've already adopted a system, but they're big enough that it's painful. And they're just afraid of version control, and they're afraid of somebody being able to go in and delete out, all the work that somebody's done. And so that's part of, I know, the hesitation with some of my clients around collaboration, but it sounds like you've got those ways to lock that down so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we had a client, I won't use his name, but he said to me the other day at a social event we were at, he said, the thing that I look at with Privia is no product does version control better than Privia, bar none, nobody. Because, we've been in this business for quite a long time. Privia actually started in its first instance back in the 90s, and then in its current corporate form in 2011. And we've really crowdsourced, if you will, the software to say, how do you want this to work? Our proposal managers have informed us how they need version control to be, and we've delivered. So, for example, in the commenting session I mentioned, all the versions are available. You can see all the comments that have ever been made and what happened to them. Were they rejected? If they were rejected, who rejected them? How was the decision made to put this in or take that out? That's all there. Now, most users will just see the latest, but if they want to go see an older version, they can. There's all the controls that you need for version control and keeping old versions and data and archiving and all that are there.
That's really nice. I like that. So,
and easy to use, by the way.
Yeah, that obviously, right? Because that is one of the, as I kind of said at the onset of the call, is that, I know that a lot of my clients, and I tend to work kind of in the small business, mid-business space more than anything, and they're a little bit afraid of it, of what it's going to take to get ramped up to use it. We've got to spend the time in the short term to get it up and running so that the long term ease and all of that. And to your point, you talked about resources and money and all of that. Nobody has extra resources and money laying around. It just, right? Don't we wish we did, but we don't. So now I know that there's a difference between content management and proposal management. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between those two and how it relates within Privia?
Yeah, so the big deal, the way we view it is the specificity of the tool set. So our capability, Privia, and we have a partner in DocuSign. We're an authorized reseller of Spring CM, which is a kind of document management, more of an automation tool. So the two together that we offer is really oriented specifically on what proposal people do, what business development capture people do, and then what proposal people do. Okay. And so if we just mentioned configuration management and control, curated commenting. These are tools that you're not going to find in a generic content management system. It's not just online storage. For example, we have integrations done with CRM tools like Salesforce, Sugar CRM. But we also have those done with opportunity websites like FedBizOps, if people who bid into the federal government, or Deltek, GovWinIQ. So if you have opportunity data that your business development person has, and you want to bring that into your pipeline and use that data to kick off your proposal process, that's already done for you. So that's something specific that would be in a proposal management tool as opposed to a generic content management tool. Same thing with our archiving and our version controls that we have in there, and your ability to move data, for example, into a workspace that we call content library, and then research that and pull that data forward and put it into the next proposal. Huge issue for proposal preparation.
Yes.
And you want to be able to do that with we just in the last version before this one spent a lot of resources to improve our search capability so that you can move that data forward and just cut and paste it, put it into the next proposal, search for it, cut and paste, put it into the next proposal. There's also, in terms of all the permissions, there's many different kinds of people who participate in proposals. Some of them are internal to your organization. Some of them are proposal managers and part of the team. Some of them may just be in there to just review one time. So how do you permission? How do you have accounts? We have two different kinds of licenses. You have licenses for people who are just kind of external, which are less expensive, by the way. So anyway, I don't want to go on, but it's all those different things that are specific to proposal people. I think I didn't say workflow, which is the number one, I think. How do you actually roll through a proposal from launch through delivery? That's the difference.
So, and it's interesting about content management, because back when I was in the trenches with proposals, content management was always really difficult. And the tools that were out there to help with that were few and far between. And it was very, very arduous to manage that content library per se. Have things gotten easier in the past 10 years around content management?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, baked into Privia is content management. I would say the same as Spring CM. That's a piece of it. So, it's a big, important piece. And then around that are all those tools I just mentioned. But yeah, for example, the reliance on IT, some tools, if you want to have in our language, a virtual workspace to do your proposal, you have to get IT involved and all those. We make that all transparent. So you just launch your proposal or start a workspace. You don't even really need to use a process if you don't want to. And if you have the rights to do it, you now have a content management system right there in front of you. I'll give you an example. If you have a workflow that's well developed, and as I said, we ship some in the box, but then we also help our clients develop them in detail. When you start a proposal, let's say you had a contract that was a broad area purchasing agreement, BPA, or a task order contract, and it had a particular format that you like to respond in, or you had to respond in.
Right.
And there were certain elements of your proposal that had to be done in a certain way. You can make that into a process, and then when you got a new task order request, all you had to do was launch that, and that virtual workspace would be set up. All those templates and everything would already be all in there. And there's no, recreating the wheel. It's all there. And that kind of content management is really easy, and it's user-based now instead of IT and everybody else getting involved.
Yeah, I love that. So, it's interesting. We're talking about all these pieces of the puzzle, and I kind of want to take a step back and get really, really basic here about all of the pieces of the automated system, whatever, for lack of a better term, that we can have here. Because we've got the content management piece, we've talked about workflow, we've talked about collaboration. What are all of the pieces of that puzzle? Have I hit on the three of them, or are there more than that?
Well, those are the big ones, I think. Let me just go but there's a couple of more. So I'll just run through them as I do them on my chart. So I'll do them from in my mind that way. The first one is the bridge, is like I like to call it, to business development, which is pipeline management.
Okay.
So how do I know what opportunities I'm pursuing? How do I know what opportunities my team is, my organization is, or this individual is pursuing, and what's the status of those? And where am I getting that data from? Could it be an external source or so? So that's pipeline management. That's one.
Okay.
The second big muscle piece is workflow. Okay, once I've decided that there's an opportunity, maybe I do a bid, no bid decision, or at least a pursuit review, and I say, this is something we want to do. I've downloaded with one button click all the data that's associated with it. Now I've decided that I'm going to do something. I'm going to use one of my processes to start a proposal effort. That is the workflow, and there's tools to help you design that workflow. Okay. And then you just launch a workflow based off whatever the criteria is that you're using, size of the opportunity, timeline, whatever. So that's the second one. Workflow, very, very important. And I'm on a mission to get more of our clients to use workflow than do, because it's a powerful tool. Then there's the virtual workspace itself, which is kind of the content management piece of it. So based off of my workflow, I've established an environment online where my users are going to participate in the collaborative exercise. So that is the structure and the content of whatever my work product will be. That a lot of that can be automated. But of course, you can change it whenever you want. Then there's the people themselves. Like, how do you bring people into the environment? How do they get notified? How do they get scheduled? We just released recently, for example, each virtual workspace has a calendar. And if you subscribe to that, it can be put on your Outlook calendar. So, there's a review in Privia that day.
Nice.
So cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you can get notifications if, you can set that up. So if somebody makes a change to a document, you know about it, and you know that it's your turn now to do something. So there's the people part, the collaborative part. Then there is, of course, the commenting. We call it commenting, but it's really the synchronous and asynchronous in the document collaboration that goes on, the real time, hey, change this to that kind of thing. So a lot of our clients call our commenting tool, which is we call curated commenting, as really our killer app, because that's the ease of really working on the document, but in a controlled way so that you get the result you want. But then I don't want to forget about there's other things I'm sure I forgot, but for example, reporting. So we have dashboards so that executives can see the status of, 8 different factors that are prearranged that show, this is what's happening in your organization. This is how many proposals you have in work. These are how many that are late, or whatever. And then we have a whole reporting tool set that allows you to do custom reports of really any type. And you can export those to Excel and put them on PowerPoint, whatever you want to do. But it's all based on the data that's in the system. Nice. And then you got to get too deep, but then there's metadata and search and all these other supporting capabilities that allow you to do all that in the background.
Interesting. What I love about this too is that, one of the things that we promote to our clients is, and I'm sure you see this, is that a lot of the times companies are a little bit in a bubble and they're like, it's all about this RFP that's on our plate right now. But there's so much more to creating a winning RFP culture that isn't just about the one RFP that's on your plate right now. It's about, how have you set things up in the ability to make it easier? What is your business development strategy and how are these things working within that? Are you tracking the data to know who you're competing against and who you're losing to the most? All of those things are so important, that holistic view. And it sounds like Privia really helps manage a good portion of what I know our company promotes.
Yeah, you could actually go in and say, tell me all the proposals that we've done in the last 2 years where this was our prime. It was to the, pick it, FDA or FAA or DOD or whatever, and show me those. As of an executive, we have this notion of personas, right? So not everybody has the same capabilities. So if I'm an executive, I could go look at that and say, well, gee, look, Bob Smith was the proposal manager on all those winning deals. Well, that's, maybe he should be the one we pick for this other job we coming up. You can look at data, slice it in a lot of different ways. And that helps you with what you just mentioned. How do I strategically plan for the things I want to do? Bid the things you really want to do that you have a chance to win. And this data helps you do that. It also helps you manage your process and see where the bottlenecks are, where things aren't working as well. Maybe if you did lose a few and you realize that your red teams were on all of them were 3 weeks late. Well, okay, well maybe that's a metric that you should look at. So that's all in there.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. Like that kind of stuff really helps the team be less stressed, less anxious, be more motivated. I think sometimes the powers that be that are making the decisions, or we just again kind of get stuck in our bubble and we're not really thinking about how it's affecting the overarching culture. And so with that, one question that I want to ask you is about kind of the generations, right? So I'm in a later generation and I'm
later than you.
Well, and I know, back in the day, we just did things the way we did them. And I know companies are still doing that just because that's the comfort zone for them. But we've got all these millennials and other generations coming up. Has that affected how Privia does updates to its technology? Or what have you seen when it comes to the way that the different generations adopt the technology?
Yeah, well, I think the trend is awesome. I mean, I'm so much of a fan of it. I mentioned today I was working on a proposal. I was doing it off of my iPhone, which was setting up my network, which I was using to get on Wi-Fi with my laptop from the front seat of my car while I was commenting on a proposal. That's how people work
That's
now.
awesome. Yeah.
And we want to enable that, and having things done online and not be done in a serial fashion. Email's great, but it has limited utility when you're collaborating. So to provide this virtual environment, that's what these, especially the new workers or the new professionals, that's what they're looking for. Not only looking for, they're expecting that. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But one of the things we talk about is security. Security is very, very important when you're talking about proposals, because this is really your crown jewels information. And what we found, and it wasn't just us, it was a big study done of it, if you don't provide collaborative tools and file sharing and online collaboration tools to your digital native workforce, they will just go get them. And there's, insecure online tools that they can use to accomplish what their mission is, and they're going to do it. And I think, I don't want to quote, I think it was 65% of people surveyed said that they were aware that people were doing that. So you don't want your proposal out on some freeware tool. So we think it's a great trend, and it's great that it has arrived, but we got to deliver. We got to give them the tools that they expect.
Yeah, no kidding. Is that what you see kind of the most in what your clients are looking for as far as changes to the technology or what their expectations are going forward? Is that one of the biggest things you see?
Yes. So make the online environment more robust, make it easier to get to, make it accessible from more devices than it is today. Let me collaborate off my iPhone. Let me, participate in a session from any device that I want to use. So we're driving in that direction.
Nice.
I think the depth of tools are very important, and Privia has been around long enough to have a very robust tool set. A lot of our emphasis is how do we make all that more accessible and easier to find and use, more intuitive. So we continue to bring out a new product that tries to ease that up. What we want to get to is you drop into a virtual workspace, you know how to use it just because you're there. And people are getting to that point. I mean, there's a lot there, but we want it to be really easy for folks to use.
Yeah,
so that's what we're working on now. And
yeah, I mean, I know for me, if it's not intuitive and it's really clunky and I have to play around with it too much, I'm out. I am probably a little bit more tech savvy than a lot of people in my generation per se, but that's just because it's how it's had to be. But that intuitiveness is huge for a lot of us, I'm sure. Because you've been around a long time, I want to ask you about things from the evaluator's perspective. So, have you noticed anything that's changed, or what has changed with their expectations of what they get when they're looking at proposals and they're reviewing and evaluating?
What hasn't changed, which I'd emphasize right up, is compliance. And we tend to have a lot of clients in the federal space, and that's where I've been. One of the things that a good online collaborative environment will help you do is make sure you don't blow your compliance. When you move from your compliance matrix, that somebody just doesn't come along and just wipe out a whole section that now everybody forgot about. So our tools have controls in there to make sure that does not happen.
Nice.
So that's still emphasized. I think the one voice thing you mentioned earlier before is also important. I actually did a proposal not too long ago where a government customer required that the people who wrote the proposal put their names on the front of the proposal to say that they were the actual people who wrote the proposal. And I think that's because, the customers want to know that this is something that you're actually dedicated to. So speaking to one voice is also facilitated by collaborative effort. And so we try to get people to all participate in this online editing, for example, so that there is a consistent voice across the proposal. And then it's really like it always has been, what's the great solution and who understands the price? So, having the right experts available to do your reviews is critical. And you don't have to fly around the country to do that anymore. And you can, in fact, have a much better review using collaborative tools than I think, in my opinion, you used to when everybody got in a room and, had sandwiches and, scribbled on the edges. And now it's better because you're actually, like I'll do a review session. I'll cut out of the document, drop it into the comments section and say, change this sentence, and then I'll write a new sentence. And the person who's got the document, all they have to do is put that back, boom, right in the document.
Nice.
And there's a record of it. It says, McConville made this comment.
Very nice.
Really good.
Well, and it's interesting too, because one of the things that I find that evaluators are looking for more is that it's a little bit more personal now than I would say it was 10 or 20 years ago. They really want to feel what it's going to be like to work with you. It's not just about just qualifications and capabilities, but am I going to like you? Are we going to be able to work together? And I think that collaborative thing that you talked about, being able to have it be that one voice, really, really helps facilitate that, to be able to say, hey, these people seem to get us. I think they're like us enough that I'm going to be okay working with these people and I can trust them. It really comes down to trust, right?
That's right. And you do paint that picture for them about what their environment is going to be like with the successful bidder, making their life better.
Yes.
And that's the picture you want to paint. That's absolutely true. And by the way, that brings up graphics for me, by the way, because I think one of the things is very important and it's been more accepted, certainly, way more accepted, I'd say, is the use of impactful graphics in your proposal to kind of paint the picture of what the success is and help the customer visualize what it is you're saying, not tons of text. And I mean, text is important, you got to do it, but impactful graphics that show you in there. So we have the same concept for commenting on graphics. So it's not just documents. So you can put in the commenting tool graphics, people can draw on it and everything, but they can't touch that graphic unless they have permission to actually change the graphic. So they can annotate and draw and make boxes and say, move this over here and make comments and all that. So the team gets to comment on the graphics too. I think that's very important, to paint pictures with pictures.
Yep. I really, I want to make sure that our listeners heard that you said very clearly impactful graphics, because we've all seen a gazillion graphics that are not even remotely impactful. They're not relevant. And, we've had a couple podcasts with, Richard Goring with Bright Carbon and Mike Parkinson with 24 Hour Company, really great industry leading graphics experts who know their stuff around graphics. And so for my listeners here, if you haven't listen to those, go back and listen to them, because spot on, Jay, those graphics are really important. And I love that your tool has that ability to kind of mark it up and draw on it and all of that, because a lot of times people will just say, well, I don't really like this graphic, it's not really working, but somebody change it. Like, well, what do you want me to change it to? And that back and forth gets ridiculous. So what a cool feature for the tool. Love it.
Yeah, and we love that Mike and his 24-hour graphics, and then we use them ourselves, so it's good stuff.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I have one client that uses them a ton, and they're just fantastic. So, and I use them myself, so I love them. So, what are some of the lessons learned from implementations that you guys have done that can really inform those looking to field a proposal management solution? Because there's a lot of them out there. It's sometimes hard to know what to do, but really, what are some of the lessons learned from your clients?
Yeah, so we have a professional services organization that's dedicated to rolling out the product with our clients. You can get a content management tool, a proposal management tool, and stand it up and it's working, but that doesn't mean it's working for you. So we want to make sure that we help our clients move through the process of implementation with a defined set of activities that we've done many, many times before, discovery, training, of course, technical implementation, and then recurring training and help as they move forward through the process. Because when you get better with the tool, you always move to a new level. It's nice to have an organization behind to help you say, hey, and now that you're so great at it, let's do this.
Ooh, nice.
So big lesson learned is to do that process. Don't skimp on that process. I know I sound like a sales guy sometimes, but I'm like, don't wait until the RFPs drop in next week to get your proposal management capability up and running. If you've got a breather, that's the time to do it, so that we can do an appropriate discovery with you, set up the workflows that you want. Maybe the ones that are out of the box are good for you, but maybe you have your own processes. Well, let us help you get those into the software so that they're robust. So that's a big lesson learned, implementation.
Great.
Training, of course. We have different training depending on different roles. And not everybody needs to be an administrator. And some people are just, their persona is just a contributor. And they only really need to have a quick training session that shows them how to do it, get online, click this link and go here and then do this. But other people should get, robust training, and train the trainer is another lesson learned.
Okay.
On training, another one I'd mention is recurring training. People come and go in organizations, and
all the time.
We're here to train, at very, low cost. We can train new people who've come in. We have webinars that people can get refreshed on. We have our users conference coming up in October. People can get training there and refreshed. But, have some recurring training built into the plan. Technically speaking, Privia supports cloud implementation, the government cloud, which also has some other compliancy capabilities, as well as on-premise implementation. So figure out, which one you really want. We even have Privia in classified environments. So depending on what you want to accomplish, we'll work with you on server architectures and storage and all those kind of things up front. And that makes it easier later. And then don't forget, as your environment grows, which many of ours do, and the data gets bigger and bigger, especially if you have on-premise, if it's in the cloud, we'll take care of it. But if it's on-premise, we want to work with you to make sure you keep up with that so that your architecture grows as your environment grows.
And that's really big because I know a lot of companies sometimes they implement something and then they don't really pay attention to it going forward. And it's you gotta keep managing that in order for it to work for you, right? And we hope our clients grow, right? That's partially why you're here and why I'm here is that hopefully what we're helping them do will cause them to grow so big that they need continued solutions. So I love that.
Yes, it's important.
So how can people learn more about Privia?
Well, www.privia.com is the best spot to go. We've got all kinds of data up there. We've got white papers. We've got blogs. Please subscribe to our blog. We put out blogs on a very regular basis that cover a lot of these topics. And I will tell your audience that it's not just, here's what Privia does. It's these kind of issues. How do you make your proposal environment better, and how do you make your proposal process better? And they're good ideas, and they come from people all over the industry. So please do that. But the website has there on it, the top, a button that says, show me a demo. And if you click that, we'll have somebody give you an online demonstration, take you all through the product. But then there's also videos there and little clips and training clips and other things you can see in addition to the white papers and blogs. So that's the best way. And then get in touch with us and we'll take you through it. And we have some testimonials from our clients who've been using some of them Privia for years and years and years and years and thousands, literally thousands and thousands of proposals.
That's great. Good track record.
There's a lot of data for you. Yeah, we're happy with it.
Do you guys work with just big companies, or what is your sweet spot with regards to size of company?
No, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, we have enterprise implementations with thousands of users, big companies. Yep. We, of course, can organize that by sub-organizations very easily. That's actually part of the product. So if you have different divisions or something, it's all easy. But we also have a small business offering, and a lot of our clients are, 5-6 person companies or even less, and maybe they have some partners they want to work with online. And you can get there's a lower price product that is specifically for small businesses. So set up a virtual workspace, and maybe you don't have kind of the deep workflow and reporting tools or something that you would have in an enterprise implementation, but you can certainly do a proposal in there, and we can help you with that too. So we service, I think, clients from just a few people all the way to, Fortune 100 companies. Okay.
Good to know. Well, Jay, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. It was great to learn about Privia. It was great to kind of hear your philosophy on how it all works. And I know our listeners will get a whole lot of great information out of this. So I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I really appreciate being on.
All right, everybody, thank you for being here. As always, you've been listening to the RFP Success Show, and we will catch you again next week.
You have been listening to the RFP Success Show with RFP expert Lisa Reherik, author of the RFP Success book. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, make sure you click the subscribe button so you don't miss a show. And thanks for spending time with us today.